know what time it is. Welcome back to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker, where I, Marissa the Thinker, sit down with different guests and we talk about all things, anything, everything, life, love, relationships, spirituality, literally whatever we want to talk about. So with that being said, I don't always know what we're going to say ahead of time. So if you're easily triggered, take it as a general trigger warning. You know, if you say something you don't like, love, or agree with, feel free to drop it in the comments and we can have a dialogue about it. That's what this show is about. It's about building conversations and understanding different perspectives. Or if you have to leave, hopefully you come back next week when we talk about something else and you can hop straight into it. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop straight into the episode. This week we have a new guest to the show. I'm very excited to hear more about this woman we have here because she's a lady with many, many hats. We have Zaria, and she is a minister, entrepreneur, coach, a speaker. She is all of the things, and she has so many things coming on. I'm excited to talk about them. Zaria, how are you today?
Hi, feeling amazing. How are you?
I am good. It is the end of the month, and the end of the month is end of the muffin, and we're making it.
Yes, we're making it.
We are making it. So, first of all, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Well, I am born and raised here in St. Louis all of my life. And unlike most people, I don't really have a desire to leave St. Louis. I know a lot of people do, but I'm pretty comfortable here. So I am just enjoying my atmosphere and enjoying my environment, making the best of it. And I'm an entrepreneur. I know that's technically a trade, but I at this point it's so ingrained in me. I feel like it's part of me. So I include that in my introduction. As you said, all the things, and I'm just I'm just a woman pursuing purpose.
Ooh, I like that. A woman pursuing purpose. That's
Yes.
yeah, it's such a fulfilling thing. I talk about it so much on this show that it probably seems old, but I'm passionate about purpose. Like I love seeing one, I love pursuing my own purpose, and I love
Yeah.
seeing other people pursue their purposes
Yes.
because it's almost like one of those things where it's just so rewarding to use your
Yeah.
gifts and your talents and the things that you've just been blessed with and then using them to help the world in some way, shape, or form. And then I find it so interesting how we can find these gifts and these things in ourselves that we love and then use them to do things like make money and have a living and, really be living a life that is fulfilling. And I also say, purpose is more than just financial, right? Because purpose can
Yeah.
come in many forms. Like
Yeah.
purpose can be your career, it can be your family life. It's just
Mhm.
literally how you show up in the world. So,
Yeah.
having purpose and finding your particular purpose leads to an entirely different outlook on life.
Yes.
It seems like
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I love hearing that. So you say entrepreneur, it's ingrained in you. So
Yeah.
why is it so ingrained in you? Like how? Where did it come from? Where did it started with you?
It started with my parents. Well, let me back up. It started with God. I really truly believe that before I was formed in my mother's womb, God was like, this lady, she's going to be an entrepreneur. And I believe God put the seed in my parents because I watched them my whole entire life. They've never had a job unless they just wanted to pick up some extra money. But while they had that job, they still had their businesses. And there was nothing like it. My first job was actually with my parents' business, which was a real estate brokerage. And I think I was 16 years old, so I was still pretty young, and I was a receptionist. And although technically that was a job for me, watching them run it, own it, I still felt like I had that ownership as well.
Yeah.
And that's when that seed was born in me, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Not necessarily the same genre, but that same, I want to own, I want to create my own schedule. that was born. Give back, give other people a chance to have jobs. I was sold.
Okay, cool. And like sometimes, you know how sometimes you see when people's parents own a business, it's almost like expected for them to follow in the footsteps. How did you end up going on a different track? Was it ever expected for you to kind of like follow in those footsteps, or you kind of did your own
It
thing?
was that's actually a very amazing question. It was never expected of me to follow in their footsteps. I have an older brother, and
Mhm.
he's actually named after my father. So he worked in the business as well. So I would watch all of them go on their appointments and do what they were doing. So I think most of the spotlight, as far as like entrepreneurship, went to him because they pretty much was like, oh, he's going to be the one that takes the baton. And I was always very sweet and just kind of behind the scenes type. So I don't think they really expected it. But as I began to grow up and I began to just have these desires within myself, I had ideas since I was way small, but I just didn't really bring it to the forefront until I did start talking to my father about some of my dreams. And he would come home because I wanted to have a daycare. So he would come home and he knew like all of the daycare businesses in town, excuse me, at that time. And he would bring me home the blueprints, and he would set up appointments for me to talk to other people that had big booming daycares in the city. And at the time, I was so scared. I was like, well, dad is just an idea. But he was like, push, like, no, you can do it. And then I think he just kind of backed off, like, well, when you're ready to do it, I'm here to do it with you. So it was amazing.
That's really dope, especially to have that type of support,
Yeah.
following you. Do you think that that made a difference when it came to how you viewed your own pursuits into entrepreneurship?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I didn't get the courage to pursue until after my father died. And the first thing I did was start a daycare. I started it in his honor because he believed in me so heavily. And I
Yeah,
said, you know what? I really want this. I'm going to do it. And I did all the legalities, the business name, the licenses, all of that. Got the my home set up because it's a home daycare because
yeah,
I didn't want to wait to have to buy a building and all that. I'm like, I'm tired of waiting. Let me just use what I got right now, and we're gonna get to it. So I did that. Got my first client, and it was just the moment I stepped out and did it.
yeah.
Ah, it felt so fulfilling. It was the most amazing feeling that I've ever felt.
Yeah. And you saying that, it reminds me of a conversation we had before actually coming on the show when we first talked about divine timing.
Mhm.
And do you think that played a role in, how things turned out for you?
I think so. I think, you know, if I would have done it when he and I were going through the plans, I think I would have been more still mousy, still behind the scenes, let him do all the leg work. He's the man. The other daycare people, they know him. It's his connections. And I think if I would have pursued it then, it would have been more about him. And that's nothing against him, but I think because of the way my personality, or I would say the way my personality was kind of hidden
Yeah,
at that time, then I would have just sat back instead of coming forward like he was, encouraging me to do. So
yeah,
yes,
yeah. I feel like God knows.
God knows.
He
God knows.
knows. Yeah, he knows. Like I know when I think back of my own personal experiences with life, and there were things that I wanted to pursue, like, whether they're big or they're small, everything is almost like a preparation for where you are
Mhm.
today. And it is crazy to look at it that way, but it's almost like sometimes we get the seed and the idea, and it's not meant for today. It's just meant
Yes.
oh, and it's so crazy how it works like that. It's just meant for you to know that it's coming because
Mm.
you might not necessarily be ready for it today,
Come
but
on.
these circumstances and particular things that prepare you for that, and certain incidents are even like the catalyst for it, you know. Um, Forgive me for saying so, but even like how you say, it happened after your father passed away, but when you did it in honor of your father, it almost seems like, that now now I have to, not I have
Mm,
to, but now I'm ready. And now
now
that
I'm
I'm
ready.
ready, I'm going to do it because in honor of, you know? Hopefully I'm
Yeah.
making sense. I'm kind of talking in
No.
parables, but hopefully I'm making some sense here.
I was just about to say, you don't hear preaching. No, you don't hear teaching. But yes, you're making perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's just is sometimes in life I think we get discouraged, and we can look back sometimes and say, well, I had the opportunity to do X, Y, or Z and I didn't take it, and we look back with regret. But maybe you weren't meant to do it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And Marissa, I've unfortunately had a lot of moments like that where I'm like, I had the opportunity and it fell through or I didn't take it and then you get discouraged. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
So how do you bounce back from moments like that?
Oh, okay. Let's get into it.
Yeah, this is what we're about here.
Yes, for me, I had to go through a transformation process. God had to really strip some things away from me, work with my mindset, and undo a lot of damage because as a person, I've had a lot of things try to be taken from me.
Mm,
And I don't mean like, oh, here's my bottle of water. Someone just took it. No, I'm talking about big things, things you would never think that someone would try to take from another person.
right.
And yes, like very scarring, very traumatic things. And it was almost like each time it happened, a little bit more of me would
Mm,
withdraw into my shell and withdraw within myself. And I still had ideas and I still had passions, but I just did not want to let it go without outside of myself. It was just for me. And my belief is that that's not what God has us here for. He didn't put gifts inside of us just for us and us. He put those gifts in us for the world, for us to be his branches, for people to reach him through us. And if I'm sitting on the things that he's called me to or he's given me, then, I've not fulfilled that purpose. But when you have a lot of trauma and a lot of and trauma is like the go-to word these days,
yeah.
and I'm not talking about anything that's just trendy to say. I'm talking about real life traumatic events, and when you go through a lot of that and it's like you're at the door and you start this, like I started the daycare, right? And that was in honor of my father. I loved it. I was like ready. I had my first client, then I had another client, another. And I was just like, oh, my dream is being lived. And then I had one of the first instances in business where that door was kind of blocked or someone was trying to tear it down and take it from me. And when that happened, I was like, okay, that was a little weird, but I shut my daycare down. And then I got into another thing and I had to work some jobs during this time because, after my father died, it was just a lot. And this is my first time really working like that without knowing that I'm going to still do my entrepreneurship thing. Like I've had other jobs before, but I always was working on something. Even if I at the time was scared and didn't know when I was going to step out, I always knew I wanted to step out. But this was after the daycare thing. This was around the first time where I really started to kind of back away from, okay, maybe I will just be a person that just works. And as I'm working, I couldn't it just felt like I'm not supposed to be there for a long time. Like
Yeah.
this is just supposed to be for now or until things get better. I couldn't shake the feeling, Marissa. It was like, even though I tried to, it was just like, no, you have to do it on your own. You have to be an entrepreneur. And it was like crawling out of me. And I'm just like, oh, I can't stop this feeling. And so I would go and pursue another thing, and another traumatic thing happened. And after that, I had a house. I bought a house, and I was going to do I was going to use it for the homeless. I had a foundation. I started a foundation. I was going to help the homeless with this foundation. And the young lady who connected me with it, she told me, she said, with you being a Black woman, don't let the seller see you or he might change his mind. Now I'm so young. Now I'm a person that has been very sheltered, and my family, they just, I'm the only girl, and I've always had this voice. And so I think for them, it was just like, we have to protect her. And that was my first time really dealing with anything like that. And I was just like, I don't think that would happen. But Marissa, that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Um, but it wasn't until after we closed on everything. I signed my papers. I had the keys to the property. I'm at the property with my mom, and we're walking through the rooms, praying through the rooms. And I get the call, and she's like, the seller wouldn't sell. You had to bring your key back. And I'm just like, what? And so after a series of things like that, I fell into just very much deeper into my hole, into my shell. And I started trying to distance myself from, building my own career path as far as entrepreneurship. I got a very, very, very good job with very, very, very good benefits. And um, when I started the training program, my whole family were like, you got to get, you got to keep this job, blah, blah, blah. And as I'm working this job, that feeling came back, Marissa, like, this is a good job, but you're supposed to be doing something else. I'm just like, for real. So long story short, because I can tell you so many stories about how I've been, or how the enemy tried to block me from pursuing these things.
Right.
But to wrap it up, what helped me to push through it, it wasn't anything of me. It was not my doing. It was all God. And he took me through a very, very strenuous process, and it didn't have to be as strenuous as it was. I
Yeah.
fought it a lot because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand that he was breaking things off of me. I just thought like things were going wrong, and I'm, praying and praying and praying and going in, just going in prayer. And then God was just like, it's not the devil, it's me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why would you, God, be allowing this stuff?
Oh
So
yeah.
God had to like really sit me down. And this was after one of the most traumatic things in business that's happened. So he really sat me down, and I got injured. I had a major surgery, and during that time, I couldn't do anything. I was dependent on other people to help me. And during that time of being set down and being immobile, I spent a lot of time, a lot of quiet time with God. And he was just, he began the process of restructuring how I saw the world through the lens of hurt, through the lens of pain. And he began to start shifting my perspective. And so that's what caused me to say, okay, after this, the biggest betrayal I've had to date in business, and all these other ones in business and personal, in my personal life as well, it took me being physically set down and God really working on my mindset and my heart. And that's what gave me the courage and the fight to keep going, to say, okay, you know what? I'm still an entrepreneur. I'm still these things. And it's by the grace of God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That
Yeah.
that is an amazing story to have.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think you actually know this or not, but actually this show is a product of something like that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I've said it on here before, but similar to you, I had experiences in my life that um made me who I thought I was. And I'm gonna say it like that. You know, I thought I was a person who was shy. I kept to myself. You know, I was quick to settle. You know, I didn't really put myself out
Mhm.
there. You know, and I was a type of person that would rather be out of sight, out of mind because it kept me safe.
Yes.
So I did what was safe. I had so many disappointments in my life that I kind of got to a point where I stopped trying, you know.
Yes.
And essentially what happened, I got to a point in life because I moved to Texas to kind of get away from it all. Because I kind of felt myself losing myself and saying
Mhm.
I didn't really know where I was going. Like college wasn't
Mhm.
working, work wasn't working. Like it
Mhm.
just wasn't working. So I moved to Texas to
Mhm.
find myself after my parents did. And you know, I started the process of finding myself. You know, I started taking care of myself and focusing on myself and meeting new people and, you know, going through the motions. And that's when the first seed came because I got the job that I do now. And then it was
Mhm.
just like, you should start a podcast. And I was just like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, you know, like, and I can't do that on my own. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way I can do that on my own. I need somebody else if it's going to be successful because I didn't
Mhm.
believe in myself enough. So,
Yeah.
um, long story short, I ended up getting into a relationship and, you know, I'm working this job and I think life is good, but, you know, in hindsight, it was not as great as I thought. It was
Yeah.
me settling, you know, in a lot of the senses. And it took me getting an injury. So I broke my ankle and and I had to sit down.
Yes. Oh
And
no.
I had to have surgery. It wasn't like one of those ones where I had to have surgery. So I had to sit down and I had to literally rely on other people.
Yes.
And it opened my eyes to a lot of things. And like you said, it changed my perspective on a lot of things. And it was the first time that I had to stop running from God and sit with him. Because
Ooh.
I needed him. Because
Yeah.
you know, that's when I hit my low.
Yeah.
I hit my low and I needed them because if I don't find it, look, this is the last option. Like this is it. I have nothing else. And that's when, you know, all of the doors started to open. You know,
Wow.
I got out of that relationship and I started living my life differently and I started surrounding myself with different things. And, you know, I started going to therapy. And one of my
Yeah.
first goals in therapy was like, I told my therapist, it's just like, I start things, but I don't see them through to the end. And she was like, well, this podcast, you gonna see it through to the end. And you know, this is going on the third year. We started in 2021. So this is
Oh.
going on the third year. And when it started with another person because I wasn't confident enough. And then, you know, life circumstances happen where, you know, it was put in my face, are you gonna quit or are you gonna do this alone and
Mhm.
stand in your power? And that's what I did. And we continue growing from there. And there's been plenty of times where I'm like, God, is this for me? You know, and he says yes. And then we continue because, you know, I struggled with that feeling of being, I call it the wounded warrior to myself.
Oh.
That feeling of being the wounded warrior, because it's just like every time you feel like you pick yourself back up, it's like you get kicked back down. And I finally found peace in being that and owning it when I realized that the wounded warrior stands back up.
Come on. Woo.
So it's not the devil, it's God showing me how strong he made me. It's him
Woo.
showing me how strong I am. It's him showing me who I was supposed to be because I wasn't looking at myself through the eyes that he created me in. And he had to
Yes.
show me who I was. And he had to show me that I had a purpose. There's so many times where it's just like, that's why I'm so passionate about purpose. Because if you ever sat and you ask God, why am I here?
Hmm.
And he shows you exactly why you're here. That's why I'm passionate about purpose.
Woo.
So yeah, I'm an adamant believer, when people go through certain things, it's not to break you, it's to make you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because that's what it's for. It was perfectly designed for your life, for your story, for your purpose, because that's what's going to feed that purpose. That's what's going to feed that light in you. It's not meant to break you. And I think that's what made me so strong in faith. And that's why I have to believe in faith. I can't tell people that God is real. You can't make somebody believe God is real.
No,
But I
no.
know when I call him, stuff moves.
Yes, come on.
You got me preaching.
Come
Okay.
on.
You
Come
got
on through here.
But like when he calls, stuff moves. Stuff moves. And that's why I'm adamant about purpose. That's why, I love talking about these types of things, because it's real, and I
It
love to
is.
hear it when other people say, look, I've gone through things, but it wasn't to break me. It was just to put you on the right path. And then, those failures put us closer and closer to where we're actually supposed to be.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Lisa, what?
Yeah.
I love that. Wow. So powerful. Your story.
Thank you. Yours is too. Yours
Well,
is
thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely. So my question is, so how do those experiences lead to where you are now? So, the business that you run, and what you all the things that you're doing right now.
Well, when I was at that amazing, very, very awesome job, very good paying job, I was every day like, Lord, how am I going to get out of here? And I felt really like, what's wrong with me? So, why do I not want this job? It's amazing. And my family was so proud of me because it was the first job like that, of that caliber that I took on. And I mean, to give you a little insight, the training for this job was 6 months, and full days, like 8-hour days training for 6 months. And and it wasn't just like I was just there. I was excelling at this job, like award. I had a whole wall of awards from this one job. And I was just like, no, I don't know. And I felt really weird about it. And I'm not going to get too much into the spiritual aspect. Maybe we'll see what the Holy Spirit wants to do. But some very strange things began to happen while I was on this job. And I was, first of all, I complained a lot. I would come home, I had a bad attitude. My mom got on me. She's like, I'm not the one that's got you upset. And I'm
Yeah.
like, she's right. She's right. So I started to take on a more position of gratitude.
Mhm.
And I was introduced by the Holy Spirit to the scripture. And I'm sure I've heard it before, but the scripture, Jeremiah 29, it really became highlighted to me. And I began to pray this scripture every day, and not as that get me out of here, but just more of, well, thank you, Lord, this is where you have me right now. You have a purpose for me being here. And
Ooh.
then all of a sudden, because there were some things about the job I didn't like outside of it being a job, there were some policies that I felt was just cruel and unusual. And miraculously, these policies began to change. And at first, it started with me. I asked for something. They said, we absolutely won't do it. This company, we don't do that. And I don't know if it was like the next day or maybe the next week, my supervisor, she came and she's like, well, you know what? You've been granted this request. And I was just like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And what it was they allowed me to do part-time. And because I tell you, I didn't want to be there. So they allowed me to do part-time,
Yeah.
but God made it to where I was still paid full-time and I kept all my benefits
Say
on a
that.
full-time level. And that was unusual. It was unheard of. And it was just supposed to be for the summer. And then God opened the door and he just extended it. And during this time of extension, I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. And so during that time, my mother started the current business we have, which is the home healthcare business. And she was doing it all by herself. My mother is a phenomenal lady in business. I'm telling you, she's phenomenal all around. But really, her mind for business is just outstanding. And I would come home those days I'm working part-time. I would come home, I would learn the business, I learned everything I could about the business, and then I just started helping her. And eventually I asked her if I could just leave that job and work with her in this business. And she was like, no, you're not leaving that good job, that cushion job with all them great benefits. You're not leaving that for this new thing. We don't know what this is going to do. And I was just like adamant, like, I'm not staying here. And every day I just kept building, 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 helping her build, build, build. And then one day she came and she was like, you know what? I'm going to let you leave your job and I'm going to let you work this business. But before that, I want to go back to this. Before that, the company, they opened up part-time as an option for other people.
Mhm.
And so again, that's something they said they would never do. But I believe, and this is not me being presumptuous or making this about me, but I believe it was God using me and praying for the company and praying against those policies that they had. And they began to start shifting some things around. And even some of the criteria they had for us as far as our metrics, that began to change. And I remember this so distinctively. Every morning before God shifted my perspective, and before I started praying about this place, there would be these crows, or I don't know what they were. Big, I think they were vultures, big old black huge birds that would sit on top of the building in a row. And I began to pick up in my spirit that this was something off about these birds. And they would be there every morning, every morning.
Yeah.
But Marissa, I'm telling you this, as I began to pray about this business, this place, those vulture crow birds, whatever they were, it went away.
Huh.
It went away. The policy started changing. And then God released me into doing what I'm doing now.
That's crazy. That's
Hmm.
crazy and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful and it's
Yeah.
powerful because
Yeah.
it works that way.
Yeah.
Something that I was talking to my mom about the other day was leaps of faith, essentially, where it's just like, in the beginning, when I started doing this, I was the same way. I was like, God, get me out this job, get me out this job, get me out this job. And, it wasn't that the job was bad. It's just I wanted to be doing what my purpose was. You know, that's what I wanted to spend all of my time doing. I wanted to, give more time, more energy to it until one day it was a change of perspective. You
Yes.
had to give it some gratitude. And it's just like, look, I have a way to pay my bills. I have insurance. Like, you know what I'm saying? I have what I need. And it's not a terrible job. It's a good job. It's actually
Yes.
a good job and it's good to me. I need to learn how to work both. This is my story.
Yes.
This is my story.
Yeah.
And then once I learned gratitude, it made it easier to balance all of the things. And I started doing better at this. And then I also got better at my job because I'm
Come
not
on.
all my time thinking about how much I hate it here. So I got better at doing it. And then, to take it a step further, now I'm starting to see the pivot that, I'm about to get taken in. And it's just like, oh, now I understand what the leap of faith is because it's just like, now I'm comfortable.
Mm.
Now I'm good. Now I'm okay with it. And it's not leaving out of, get me out of here.
Yes.
It's leaving out of, it's time.
There's a difference.
It's a difference. It's a difference. It's like, it's time and I'm about to jump into the unknown, but I trust you to catch me.
Come on.
And that's different because this whole time we've been working on my faith. This whole time we just been working. We've been building, 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 building. Because it went from I hate it here to like, okay, you got me here for a reason.
Come on.
So then when you call me to leave this place, it's still for a reason.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we hitting some stuff today. We We are
Let
getting
them use you.
okay. That's because that's what's happening right now. So on top of the home healthcare business, you're an author. You have a docu series coming out, and you're also going on tour, a conference tour. So where do we even begin? How do all of these things even come into place? I think the one that I'm most excited to hear about is this docu series, and is that the one that's coming like the soonest?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
It,
so,
mhm.
so let's talk about it. It's called Nikki Behind the Scenes. What is this about?
Okay, this is about the story of a group called Out the Bloom, and they have a hit record here in St. Louis called Nikki. It's about 20 years old, and when Nikki came out, it was such an explosive hit. It was in all the clubs, it was on the radio. If you went to a party, they played it. And then all of a sudden, after all that big hype and fame, it was like it just the people behind the song just kind of went away. Like, what happened to them? Where are they? Why didn't they as a group take off? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And even to this day, 314 Day, which is, for those who may not know, is a celebration that St. Louis does. We celebrate our food, our culture, our music, and it's a song that gets brought up. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I already had like a bird's eye view, or behind the scenes, behind the veil view,
yeah.
because one of the contributors to the song is my older brother. And I would go with him to the shows. I would go with him to meet the celebrities. And I saw the star power behind this song and behind their group. And it was just one of those things where it was like, again, like, oh, I'm right here at the breakthrough. And all of a sudden, it's gone. And with 314 Day coming up with this, so actually, let me pivot for a second. Last year would have been, I believe, the 20th anniversary of the song Nikki, if I'm not mistaken. And we talked about doing something then. And I just said, you know what? Just because it's not the 20th doesn't mean that we can't do something on the 21st or whatever anniversary it is. This is a
We can drink
story.
now.
Yes. Okay. He grown.
Yeah.
But this is a story that needs telling. And I am just so honored to get the chance to be the one to tell it. You know, there are some of the people who were there in that moment, they'll get to tell their story. They'll get to tell it in their own words. No one's going to tame it. No one's going to tell them what they can or cannot say. They finally get to release what happened to Nikki.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's exciting. I don't want to dig too much into it because I know it's a docu series and it's gonna speak a lot for it. But like, what was that experience like? Like you just got the idea, and then how do you even begin? Where do you even begin with something like that?
I really don't know, but let me see. So, as a visionary, I have a lot of ideas. Marissa, as you can probably understand, as a visionary yourself, and I don't always get the how I'm going to do it, or the full picture when I get the vision of the thing. And all I knew was we need to get this story out there. And last year I went through a very transformative thing. And with that transformative thing came a lot of downtime and a lot of, I want to say heartbreak, but I would say growing pains. That's a better word, growing pains. And I just began to realize just recently, after talking to my husband, that the thing I had been really missing was my purpose, was doing the things that give me that creative spark. I'm a very creative person, but I had not been creating. Imagine how that feels. And I didn't really recognize what was happening with me. I just knew that I didn't feel like myself. And I really thank God. I thank my husband for helping me to get back to that creative part of myself, because it's very much a part of who I am, just as much as being an entrepreneur is ingrained in me. Creativity is deeply ingrained in me. And when we had that talk, my husband and I, we had that talk maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was almost instantly where the ideas started pouring back in. And I was like, oh, documentary, oh, book, oh, this, that. So I'm like, okay, where do I begin? Where do I start with all these things?
Yeah.
And so as I'm like, okay, we'll bring Nikki's story out. 314 day is approaching. We'll narrow that down to that day. We'll do this thing the next day. But that's how the documentary came about and got put together.
Okay. So what was one of the most interesting things that you learned putting that together?
Who I learned that even though I was there with them and on going to all the shows and all the things, that there was still a lot that they didn't tell me. And maybe it was because I was an underage girl, and this was part of them protecting me. But as I'm sitting with some of them and I'm listening to them tell the stories, you'll there's one on there, there's a scene, and you'll hear me say in shock, like, excuse me, like you can see and hear me clutch my pearls, like, what?
Yeah,
Somebody did what to you? And you know, I'm I'm a mama bear, mama auntie, mama TT, mama sister. Like, don't mess with my people. Don't do that.
yeah. You're
And
a cancer
that's
though, right?
I don't really ascribe to the signs, but uh I'm born in July. So
Me too. That's why I said it.
yeah, July 1st. And
Yeah,
if you're going by the signs, that motto, I'm very much in tune with my emotions and other people's emotions as well, and very, very protective. Like, don't mess with anybody I love. It's not going to be good for you. I promise.
you're gonna get hurt.
So
Yeah,
yes. And I learned that somebody messed with my big brother and I didn't like it. That's what I learned.
yeah. So do you,
Yes.
so do you find when you go back into things like that, you dig up a lot that you didn't know? Like, is it a good thing, or does it kind of ruffle feathers when you kind of dig back like that? What's it like?
It it was all of it. Marissa, it was all of it, because there were some scenes, some things that were revealed that I asked him, I said, do you think we should reveal this? Because I don't want you to get into anything with anybody. He's like, no, release it. I'm tired of it. It needs to be told. And I'm just like,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
Okay. Yeah.
all right. Well, okay. Is it coming out on 314 day?
It's coming out on 314 day. It's going to be released to my new YouTube channel. And but first we're gonna have a nice party, a little 314 day party. We're gonna dress in our, our jerseys, our what you call the hockey, your hockey
Blue,
jersey, your
blue.
Cardinal,
Yeah.
Rams, all that. Yes.
You gotta get Rashid of Emerging Business Leaders. He has this like dope hoodie. I have to get one before 314 day, especially
Okay.
because like I'm not here. So the easiest way to identify a St. Louis and in Texas is on 314 day, what you wearing. But
Yes,
he has
absolutely.
yeah, he has this hoodie that says hustle. And in hustle, he has the Blues, the Cardinals, and the Rams integrated in it, and the arch, I believe. He's wearing it in his episode. His episode actually comes out this week. It would have already happened, y'all. By the time it comes out, but he has hoodies for that. So yeah.
I'm I'm definitely gonna get with him and just kind of plug him and let the people know that's coming. Like, hey, if you want some gear, contact Rashad so you can be ready for the party.
Yeah. We gonna make it known. So I'm gonna have Rashid stuff on
The
my
she,
page now.
sorry.
Yeah, see, we gonna have his stuff on my page, Deuce Designs. Get you your hustle STL for 314 day, and then come watch this documentary, Nikki behind the scenes. Okay, and okay, so you having this party? Where's the party?
Well, the party is going to be at a residence. So it's going to be a private screening. But people can come. They just have to contact me. I don't want to give the address out because it's a private residence. But
Right.
if you contact me, then I can get you a ticket.
All right, awesome. And then we'll get you a social media at the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, cool. So 314 day, we're gonna want to check that out. So then the next thing on your list, we got the Maverick tour, right?
Woo! Yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the Maverick tour. What's that?
One day I knew that I wanted to have a conference. And one day the Holy Spirit just said the Mavericks. I was like, what's a Maverick? Like I've heard of it, but I thought it had a bad undertone. So I thought it's not the Holy Spirit saying that because surely the Holy Spirit wouldn't tell me to say something that people would think bad about. But I looked it up and it made so much sense. So a maverick is basically someone that pushes beyond the grain, like all the things we talked about, like the different setbacks and the things that we've experienced. That there are a lot of people that will fold and just say, okay, whatever, I give up. I'm not going to pursue this anymore because apparently it's not for me. And so a maverick is a person that goes beyond those no's that they're told, that goes beyond the limitations and keeps pushing. If they have to pivot, if they have to change the plan a little bit, they're still going to work it somehow. You know what I'm saying? And so for me and you, we had to pivot. We had to change our mindset. That's something a maverick would do. And mavericks are bold in their pursuit because they've been told no. They've been told, hey, you're looking crazy out here. Sit down, get do something else that's not going to, keep you so stressed or keep you so whatever. And when you know that it's God, that's when you keep pushing. When you know that God is the one that gave it to you, you push through those limitations. Like Noah, I don't know because I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure when it wasn't raining, there was no water. People was like, Noah, why are you still building this thing? Like, this is unneeded. And then when the flood hit, they're like, oh, Noah, let me get on the boat.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't there. I don't know if that happened, but I presume that that's how it happened. And so when you have someone like myself who I'm the only girl. I've been so sheltered. I wasn't the one that, my parents expected to pick up the baton for entrepreneurship and just all these things. But I always knew in me that I'm supposed to do something. And it's like, okay, I can't shake this. So let me just sit down, get myself together, see what God is trying to do in me so that I can be ready to do what he wants me to do. And so that's what a maverick is. And I feel like in these times, so many people need to hear from people who are pushing through. That doesn't mean we got it all together or we've reached our goals or anything like that, but that means that we keep the pursuit. And people need to know that it's okay to pursue. When you know it's God telling you to go, it's okay for you to go. And I feel like people need to know that. People need somebody to remind them it's okay, because I'm sure they're hearing a lot of the opposite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And it's very much true. It's something that I also like to say on here a lot because when the seed is in you and you can't forget it. I even said this at the expo, I think, when it's in you and you can't forget it, you can't let it go, you can't shake it. It's for a reason.
For a reason.
Because it's a calling. It's not just a thing that just comes and goes. It's a calling. And you're gonna keep
Yes.
getting called, and you're gonna keep getting called, and you're gonna keep getting
Woo!
called, and you're gonna keep getting setbacks.
Girl.
Look, the thing about a calling, it's by choice. You have free will, but
You do.
not for real. Not for real.
Not
No,
for
you
real.
don't. Not if you want a peaceful life.
If you want a peaceful life, come
Not if,
on, Jonah.
not if you want a peaceful life. Because you're gonna keep running into roadblocks. You're gonna keep running into setbacks. You're gonna keep running into things that just stop you and stop you and stop you and stop you. Why? Because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And when we're obedient, life just is easier. At least that's
It
what
is.
I found for my life.
Yes.
When
Same.
when I heed the call, I have a peaceful life. I always say me breaking my ankle was the best thing that ever happened to me because I learned how to listen.
Child.
It humbled me because I stopped trying to go against the grain. I
Whew.
stopped running, and I learned that it was for my own good.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. When people always in this society, we have gotten so used to instant gratification
Mm.
that we want to take the easy way. And we get told that the easy way is the way. Why not go
Yeah.
this way when you can go this way?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you why not go this way. I just said it. Because just because it looks easier
Oh,
doesn't mean it will be easier in the long run.
come on, Marissa.
Because what is the point of me taking a shortcut if that same shortcut is sending me in the wrong direction?
Whew.
It's like taking directions, right? If I want to go to St. Louis, why would I go the wrong way on the highway? I don't want to go to Houston to get to St. Louis.
No, no, you don't.
I don't want to. I just wasted time.
Yes.
And I might have stopped in Austin. And I might have got somebody might have stole my shoe in Austin.
Oh no.
And then somebody might have stole my car in Waco. And then
Oh
I had
no.
to hitchhike back, all the way when I could have just drove straight through to St. Louis the first time.
Straight
And I didn't
path.
have to do that.
No.
You know what I'm
No.
saying? So it's just like, who's going to tell us, look, it ain't, we've been there.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing in there for me. Ain't in there, and there's nothing in there for you. Because there's so many people that's gonna tell you go this way, but it's not a lot of people that's gonna tell you, look, I know that's hard. I know it seems hard. I know it seems like life is beating you up right now, but it's not to break you. Just pick yourself back up. We all go through. It's
Yes.
not gonna be pretty. Just go through it.
Just go through. Yes.
Go through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that. So when is this Maverick tour happening?
The first date is May 18th
Okay.
at 11:30 a.m. And I am so, so, so excited.
Yes.
So excited.
Yes. And this is a tour.
This
So
is a tour.
okay, so tell me about that.
This is, again, with the way God works with me, He just, it's like giving me these ideas. And when it came out to be a tour, I was just like, that sounds real different, a tour conference. So the first, just like a tour. So my family, as you know from my brother, but my family, we have music ingrained in us as well. My father also had a band, and my father was a huge promoter. This comes out in the documentary as well. He was a huge promoter in Kenlock, and he brought concerts to Kenlock, big, huge stars. And I myself love music. I didn't pick up the music gene as far as playing an instrument or things like that. I sing a little bit, but the music thing is more so my brother's. And while doing this tour, or excuse me, while creating this conference, it just kind of came up in my spirit to make it like a tour and, have different people. What do you call it when someone is starring, I guess. So have different people starring on different nights. And we were even going to have backstage passes and exclusive VIP backstage passes and packages for after the person speaks. The people get a chance to go backstage, get a little bit more intimate one-on time with them, and it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be so. I feel like it's going to be something that injects life into the people that come, because it's going to be an experience. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how many shows do you plan on doing?
Right now, it's unlimited. Like I talk to people and I listen to their story, and I just see what the Spirit of God is telling me. And there is so many people that are mavericks to me. Marissa, you are a maverick to me. And it's just like, I want to bring them on the tour. It's like, so we have a couple of dates already lined up for June. We're getting things lined up for July, for the summer dates. And for now, it's just ongoing. But the
Okay.
first date is May. Yes.
And this is Trey.
Trey Scott. Yes.
All right. Now Trey is like, look, y'all already know Trey L. Scott, the TikTok preacher. That is the first headliner of this tour. So, make sure that you go support it, not only to just support Zaria, but also to support Trey as well.
Yeah.
Y'all have
Yes.
heard him speak time and time again. You hear your story. Come on now. It's time. Go hear those stories, because every time Trey comes on the show, it's just powerful.
Yes. Yes.
It's powerful.
Electrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a certain level of energy that Trey just brings to everything. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
He's definitely been a blessing for the show, even prayed for the show,
Wow.
there before. So all love and support goes out to Trey. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Y'all go support. Y'all go support. So, where do people get tickets for this?
So the tickets are sold online. There's a link. For some reason I'm forgetting the name of the event page, the
I'll
ticket.
include it on
But
my
it's
website.
okay. It is a ticketed event and you could go online and purchase it. It's gonna be so good, guys. We're gonna give you an intimate, exclusive feel. And then you also have the option to do it online if you can't get there in person. But if you can get there in person, I definitely recommend getting there in person just so you can have that one-on-one with Trey afterwards for even more personalized wisdom and nuggets. And I'm going to have my notebook and my recorder and everything I need as a student that day. So I just encourage you to come as a student. So you can be a master in your field, but I encourage you to just come as a student that day and just sit at the feet of the speakers and learn and just pick up what you can. And I'm just so excited, but seats are very limited. So I recommend getting your tickets early.
All right, cool. So I can go too. So you said it's electronic, so that means I get to go too.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna support, and like I said, I'm gonna include the link to your tickets on my website when I post this episode, and of course, I'm gonna post it on the page. And
Thank you.
the emerging business leaders are gonna blow that up for you. So for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. So before we get out of here, I gotta ask you about one more thing, because you got a book too.
I have a book.
You got a book too. So let's go ahead and get into it. let's, let's go ahead and get into it. So what's the name of your book, and how did that come to be?
Okay, there's a story behind the name of this book.
Okay.
And I've changed it so many times, but I just recently changed it again. And I'm going to look really quick at my notes. So I want to make sure that I get it correct because I've made so many changes. But the name of the book is How to Excel as a Tender-Hearted Leader Without Being a Pushover.
Ooh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a 10-step guide. So it's not a long read. You don't need 3 or 4 months to read it. It's a very short read, but it's just very practical steps. And I'm a tender-hearted person. What that means is I'm very sweet. God has given me a lot of intuition, so I can pick up and feel people's feelings and emotions when they're sad, when they're hurting. I can pick it up and I can feel it. And as a leader, you would have people come to you and with their problems, and you feel their feelings. You feel overcome with empathy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning parts of my life, that I really didn't have a backbone. I was a pushover,
Yeah.
and that created a lot of inner tension within myself, and it just wasn't. I was weighed down by being a pushover, and I just used to be so mad at God, like, why did you make me so soft? And it wasn't till, I would say, when I got married, and which was last year, and I went
That's
through a thank you, and I had such a transformation with people having to now get used to not having as much access to me, and it was hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was hard because I was hurting people. I wasn't intending to hurt them, but I had to transition to my new life. And when I cried and cried and cried to God about it, and I wanted God to help me to not be a pushover. At that point, I wasn't a pushover, but I didn't know how to handle the overwhelming amount of pain that I was picking up from other people.
mm,
And I had become very mean, if I can just be honest. I was just like going off on people, like, get out of my face. Like, what do you want from me? And it was such a shock. Like, everyone was just so shell shocked. Like, whoa, like, this is not, we're not used to this about you. And so I was very confused, like, what's happening to me? And just recently, and by the grace of God, wow, I just went through this whole process of prayer and just deep intercessory prayer. And God revealed it to me, like, you don't have to not be tenderhearted. You don't have to not be soft and sweet, but you just have to know how to be those things and have those boundaries without feeling bad about it, without feeling guilty, without sugarcoating when you need to be firm. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. And no is a complete sentence. And it took God to really coach me in creating that balance. And when God first gave me the idea, because at first the book was going to be about being an executive director, and it was just a very plain title, How to Be an Effective Executive Director, very plain. And I didn't want to put it out. I didn't want to, it was just something in me that was like, I don't want to market like this. And it wasn't until a couple of days ago where God really broke it down and was like, I don't want you to just talk about being an executive director. I want you to talk about being a leader, an executive director who leads with passion, who leads with their heart. And not to get it confused, because we know that the heart is not to be trusted. But what I mean is someone like me who has very strong feelings,
mm,
who can feel other people's feelings in a strong way and not let that overtake you, because it's a lot of other people who are called to be leaders
mm.
who are also very deep feeling, and they need to know how to not let that overcome them, not to let it not to let other people take advantage of them, but also not to become so mean and hard to try to cover up your tenderness. I hope that made sense.
Absolutely. It absolutely makes sense. Um it it reminds me of myself and learning how to advocate for myself.
Yes, yes,
You know?
yes, yes, yes.
It's the reason why I want to coach and help people, because um I had to learn the difference um
Yes.
with dealing with people, because sometimes people, when you deal with certain people, they want continual access to you,
Come on.
and you can't, you know, especially when you're a person that loves people and you want to give to people and you want to pour into people. um
Yeah.
it can lead to an existence where you are surrounded by people that you can only pour into, that can't pour back,
Yes.
and
So true.
and it takes a lot from you. So I had to learn how to love them while still loving myself.
Come on.
And that took learning how to advocate for myself and not
Yes.
feel guilty about doing so,
Yes.
and to not be mean about it too.
Not be
Because
mean.
yeah, because it got to a point where who's gonna take care of you
Yeah.
if you're not
Yeah.
doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And who's gonna do it for you? And again, like I've been in roles of leadership where it's a delicate balance, you know, because if you lead too much with emotion, you easily
Hmm.
manipulate it, and then you won't be
Yes.
a leader. But if you're too rigid, you also aren't being the best leader that you could be too, because
Absolutely.
people are human, and
Yeah.
you need both.
You need both.
I worked with a manager. It was one of the best managers that I've worked with, and it taught me a lot. He was a guy, and he was insistent upon one, I'm gonna let you do you. And when you do you, I get to do me, and then we all get to work in we all get to work in a good tight running ship. But like something that he also taught me, because in that role I was like a scheduler and I was a person that hired. And
Okay.
I was very rigid in how
Yeah.
I approached it. In my mind, when I'm making a good schedule, I want the right people in the right places at the right time. It's very mechanical. If
Yeah.
you are good at this is retail at the time. So if you're good at being on the register, if you can whip through people, da da da, if you good at the fitting room, if you good at working the floor, that's where you are. And I put people where they like and where they excel at, and it worked
Yeah.
well. But what it didn't work for was the people who weren't as great.
Yeah.
I needed more help. And he had to work with me in the sense of like, these people are falling through the cracks though. These people are winning, but you also have people that are, falling through the cracks. And that's also a reflection of me as a leader. So I'm a
Wow.
great leader in one sense, but I'm failing in this other sense because
Wow.
I'm not taking into account the people who I'm losing along the way.
Wow.
Because I used to just view it as it's the cost of business. But where's the empathy in that? Because
Come on.
these people still need jobs. These people are still, whatever. And a perfect example is this one girl. I will always put her in the fitting room. I'll always put her in the fitting room because I didn't think she was good at the other stuff. And she would always be like, let me get on the register. Let me get on the register. Let me get on the register. And I'd be like, you're not fast though. Like, like I need you to be fast though. Like you're not fast. And then she'd be like, but let me get on the register. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna let you get on the register, but I need you to give me cards. Long story short, she wound up being one of my best performers when I gave
Wow.
when I gave her a chance, when I actually believed in her and gave her that opportunity. So, it's a lot to be a leader.
It is.
And it's a
It
lot to
is.
be a good leader. And to be a good leader, it requires a lot of self-work to be that good leader, and a
It
lot of
does.
reflection, because it's more than just a title.
It is.
It's way more.
So much more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that sounds like a very interesting read. I've been in my books lately, and I've been trying to just see what's out there, just see what's out there, because it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot in books when you really open them up and read them. It's a lot to be learned and gained from doing that. So I'd be
It
very,
is.
yeah. Does that have a release date yet?
I am um once I narrow down the title and really, because I like that title and I just want to make sure that it's on it's on God's brand. You know how they say that's on brand. I want to make sure it's on God's brand. So it will be released by the conference, the first leg of the tour, definitely. And I'll probably actually release it next week, to be honest.
Oh wow.
I just want to make sure the title is right.
Okay. Okay. Well, we here for it. Just let us know. Let us know, and we'll keep an eye out for it here. So it might already be out by the time y'all are watching this, y'all. So I'll make sure I have the links and everything that we need to the episode on the website, thinkerversusspeaker.com. So, and then I'll also
Yeah,
post some on my Facebook page as well. So yeah,
thank you. Because it's written, it's already completed. I just have to confirm the title.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. Congratulations to you and on everything that you're doing. I wish you the
Thank
best of luck
you.
in everything.
Thank you so much.
I know it'll be successful. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it. So yeah, thank you for coming on to the show today. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time because I easily can. I can talk all night. So so I appreciate you coming on to the show. If there's any time that you want to come back, it's an open door. You're more than welcome to come back when you have other things that you want to talk about, whether it be topics, whether it be other events that you have going on, or if you just want to come back and sit down with us, you're more than welcome to do so.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. I'm so proud of you for pursuing your dreams, your goals, and stepping out on your own. This is perfect. I enjoyed my time with you today so much.
Thank you. I did as well. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on. It was an amazing conversation. It was what I needed today. So thank you
Oh,
for
nice.
sitting down with me. Would you like to let people know where to find you on social media so they can get in contact with you too?
Absolutely. You guys can find me on Instagram as Zaria Lacy with the underscore right after Lacy. And I look forward to connecting with you all. Follow me, as the kids say, and I'll follow you back.
Awesome, awesome. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at Marissa Y17 on Instagram, Thinker versus Speaker at Thinker versus Speaker on Facebook, Instagram, Thinker versus Speaker official on TikTok. Sometimes I'm on there, sometimes I'm not. It just depends. If you're really looking for me, it's all on Facebook. And if you're looking for more about Thinker versus Speaker, you're more than welcome to go to thinkerversusspeaker.com. It's gonna have my social media. You can watch episodes there. You can read about the episodes. We also have a blog called The Rabbit Hole, where I get to write out some of my weird and random thoughts. So you can go check that out there. Literally everything that you want to know about Thinker versus Speaker is on thinkerversusspeaker.com. And while you're at it, check out some of my sponsors. We have Chris Perry of Perry Web Design. He's the one that helped get that beautiful website together for us. So if you're looking for a website or to take your website to the next level, check him out. And then also we have my parents' candle business, Passion and Purpose Candles and More. If you like candles, wax melts, things of that nature, we got all of that for you. And a portion of the proceeds goes to supporting Alzheimer's and Dementia Foundation. So if you want to support a good cause while you get a good smelling candle, make sure you check them out. Like I said, where are we going? Thinkerversusspeaker.com. Everything that you need for Thinker versus Speaker is literally going to be there. So with that being said, Zaria, do you have anything else for the people before we get out of here?
It was a pleasure sharing my story. Thank you for having me. And I just pray it was impactful.
Most definitely. It was definitely impactful. I appreciate your time today. It was a great conversation. Y'all, if y'all like the episode, definitely make sure that you leave a comment, let us know y'all thoughts on the episode, especially if it's anything that you want to add to it. And subscribe to the channel, put other people on so we can help grow the channel. But I think that's everything. You agree?
I agree. Great time.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on to the show. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come back anytime and have a good
Absolutely.
evening.
You too. Thank you so much, Marissa.
Not a problem. All right. Bye-bye.